Ukraine has accused Russia of breaking the ceasefire in the port city of Mariupol. Officials say that the entire city has been surrounded by Russian forces, and the ceasefire violation has postponed all evacuation efforts as of now. Earlier, Russia had announced a temporary ceasefire in cities in Donetsk to help the humanitarian crisis unfolding, while Mariupol and Volnovakha were under a blockade. It was agreed that women and children will be allowed to evacuate through a humanitarian corridor.
Сегодня, 5 марта, с 10 часов утра московского времени, российской стороной объявлен режим тишины и открыты гуманитарные коридоры для выхода мирных жителей из городов Мариуполя и Волновахи. Гуманитарные коридоры и маршруты выхода согласованы с украинской стороной.
The ceasefire was supposed to last till 2 p.m. GMT or 7:30 p.m. IST. The key port cities have been under intense attack for days now. 200,000 people are stuck in Mariupol and 20,000 people are stuck in Volnovakha. They are living with no access to water or electricity. Just a while back, Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister warned that Russia must not take advantage of an agreed humanitarian corridor to advance its troops. The second round of talks between Russia and Ukraine remained inconclusive. The Ukrainian presidential advisor said that the focus remained on ensuring evacuation and providing medical aid.
Только что завершился второй раунд переговоров между российской и украинской стороной. К сожалению, к огромному сожалению, мы не получили тех результатов, на которые рассчитывали. И единственное, что я могу сказать, обсудили достаточно подробно гуманитарный аспект, потому что достаточно много городов сейчас находятся в окружении. Там драматическая ситуация с...
Now, for more on this, joining us now is Vladislav Davidson, who is a non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council, who is joining us live now from Kiev. Thank you so much for joining us. My first question to you, let's talk about the recent development that is coming in today about the ceasefire. I think the big concern out as of now, especially in the West and some European countries, is that this humanitarian corridor will be used by Russian troops to its advantage. What are your thoughts on the same?
Hi, thank you for having me on again. Look, very sadly for my country, as a lover of Ukraine, as a man from Odessa who has a family in Odessa that I'm desperately trying to evacuate, I do not believe in these green corridors after what we saw in Syria. I certainly would not send my family into that green corridor. That's just me. If I had to put my own family's and distant relatives' lives on the line, which I actually do, I'm not sending them through that green corridor. I'm going to tell them to figure something else out. So that's my position.
Just interjecting right there, why do you say that? Is that because of a larger mistrust in the actions of the Russian army?
Absolutely. And also the experience of the same kind of green corridors, quote unquote green corridors, which were put into place by Russia in Syria. And the green corridor that was offered to Ukrainian troops when they were surrounded twice, the Battle of Debaltseve in 2014 and 15, there were two battles when the Russian army offered the Ukrainian troops a green corridor, and once they were leaving, they just bombed the corridor, and they bombed them from all sides. So the Ukrainian army remembers that very well. The population remembers that very well. Anyone who watches the news knows what happened in Syria. And sadly, that is the scenario that is shaping up in this country, although the Ukrainians are fighting very well and the Russians are fighting very badly. I personally would not use that green corridor, and I would not send my family through that green corridor.
Right. Now, you're clearly saying that you would not send anyone you know or your family members through that green corridor right now that is being pitched as a sort of humanitarian corridor in the ceasefire that has been proposed. We're also getting reports that Ukrainian authorities have postponed civilian casualties, while officials are now warning of higher number of civilian casualties up ahead. What will lead to some kind of dousing of tensions? Will this ceasefire, or so to speak, the supposed proposed ceasefire work at all?
I do not see the Russians going for ceasefire, because every day that they don't win this war or make very large, coherent, objective accomplishing means they're losing. So the Ukrainians, every day that they survive, every day that they hold on to their territory against a numerically superior and technologically superior army, that they have survived one more day. They have lived to tell the tale for one more day. Let me just tell these children to be quiet. Thank you. I just told these kids at the next table to be quiet. Look, every day that the Ukrainian army survives, they are doing one day better, and the Russian army will run out of munitions, out of morale, out of manpower. Their morale is horrible. They just need to hold on, the Ukrainians, and the Russians need to win some sort of objective settling battle, at which point they will be able to have some sort of face-saving measure, because they've already paid the costs, and the costs in terms of international sanctions and to a Russian economy are set in stone. So why won't you, having paid those costs, if you're the Russian government, the Russian military, continue on with the campaign to try to get as much out of it as before you leave?
Absolutely. Just a final question for you right there. We're also getting reports that Russia is now blocking popular social media sites such as Facebook and restricting access to Twitter. Is that a concern as of now that Russia is trying to control the narrative of this war?
It's not a concern for me in the West as an American. It's not a concern for me here as a Ukrainian. It is a concern for the Russian population who have a problem with access to information. They have less and less access to information. More and more websites inside of Russia are being called enemy websites, and they're being made to close down. They just closed down Echo Moscow. They closed down Rain TV station, radio and TV station. They're closing down everything that gives the Russian population access to useful information. Now, one of the few places left where Russians and Ukrainians interact with each other is over Facebook and over Twitter. So now that the Ukrainian side has a couple of years ago blocked the popular Russian social media websites here, people could not keep in touch with their relatives and cousins and friends over the border. And so Russians and Ukrainians are moving in two different directions in terms of their information sphere. Facebook was one of the last places where you could get a conversation going between a bunch of Ukrainians, a bunch of Russians, a bunch of Russian speakers in the diaspora like me. So this is bad in terms of getting information to the Russian population, which is more and more living in a North Korean type of information environment, which isn't good.
Absolutely. Vladislav, thank you so much for all those insights, and thank you so much for joining us. WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.